Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo and it's great to be on the show again where we discuss all things books. Thank you for everything you are sending to us via social media platforms displayed on your screen. Really appreciate them. Please keep them coming. The Dele Ogun episode we had, we're still getting a lot of messages on that. People asking, they want to know about the slave trade story. They want to read that book, and it's just on and on and on like that. Like I always say, we have the responsibility of preserving the slave trade story and also sharing it with the world. We just really need to get busy in that area. One of the things that when people ponder over such topics, one of the questions that come to mind is, what is the challenge of the black man? What is the history of the black man? Why do we have so many challenges in black societies across, the world, particularly the continent of Africa? Well, one man has done a lot of research, he's done a lot of work, and is confident that he has the right answers to that particular question. We've had him on this show before when he wrote his first book, and he's written another one titled Governance Under Gross Limitations. When I finally picked up this book, after I had rested on my table for a few weeks, when I finally picked it up, I just could not drop it. There's so much rich history here. He made his findings from ancient historians, and he just did quite a lot of work here. Do not be deceived by the cover. Get ready to get into something hot. Let's get to meet with Anthony Agbo and then enjoy the conversation we had with him.
Anthony Agbo is a politician, writer, and poet. He was elected the pioneer speaker of the old Enugu State House of Assembly at the age of 26, before the military coup terminated that transition after a year and 8 months. After the civilian government was restored, Senator Agbo was appointed Commissioner for Finance and later Commissioner for Public Utilities. He was later elected into the 6th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2017. Senator Agbo, who has a first and master's degree in mathematics, has authored several books, including Adoration of the King, Poems in Honor of the Great God, Power, Populism, and Accomplishments, The Story of Jim Ifeinchukwu Nwobodi, Africa, The Glory, The Curse, The Remedy, amongst others. He joins Channel's Book Club to discuss his newest publication, Governance Under Gross Limitations.
Senator, nice to have you on Channel's Book Club.
Thank you.
Once a senator, always a senator now.
Sure.
Even if you retired for a long time.
Yeah, 2011, I left Senate.
I mean, your path is a very interesting one. You studied mathematics.
Yes.
You have a master's degree in mathematics.
Yes.
Then you went into politics.
Yes.
You became a senator.
Yeah.
Very interesting path. I mean, how has that been for you?
Well, fine. I think my going into politics, I should say, was a kind of a historical accident. It wasn't originally my own early plan in life, but it happened and I accepted it and continued.
And now you are pursuing your passion, which is, history. I mean, of course, amongst other things.
Yeah.
But that has led to 2 incredible books you've written. I mean, 2 crazy books.
The word crazy is
forgive my language. I mean, I was reading them, I was like, oh. And so it's interesting. Let's dig in. This is your second book, Governance Under Gross Limitations,
yes.
which is a sequel to the book titled Africa.
Yes. The Glory, the Cause, the Remedy.
The Cause, the Remedy. And you built on that one to write this one.
Yes.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit before we dig in. about what inspired this. I know you told me the last time when we spoke about your first book, but I would like you to just repeat that story.
It's okay. Thank you so much. The title, as you said, I wish to welcome our listeners. The title, as you said, Governance Under Gross Limitations. Ancient secret, mystery, and truth that explain the failure of leadership and progress in Africa. There are three classifications of human races on earth. The Caucasian race, which is Europe, America, Britain, and the allied nations. The Mongoloid race, which are the Asians. Then the Negroid race, which is Africans and the black people all over the world. These three loose classifications of the human race coincide with and harmonizes with the three sons of Noah who gave birth to the current world after the flood that destroyed the entirety of the human race. Noah gave birth to three children, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem gave birth to Asians, the Mongoloid race. Japheth gave birth to the Caucasian race, Europeans, America, Britain, and so on. Ham is the father of Africans and the black people all over the world. The essence of this book now is a sequel to the other book, Africa, the Glory, the Cause, the Remedy. And the question has been, why are we different from other races? I mean Africans. Starting from our color. Why are we black? Why are we poor? Why can't we manage ourselves? Because failure of leadership in Africa is comprehensive across virtually all the nations of Africa. Leadership had failed over centuries and decades. So there must be something wrong. Then why are we poor? Why were we enslaved? Why are we humiliated and dominated by other nations and so on? I used to ask myself these questions. And these were the questions that gave rise to these two books. Then I had an inspiration that the answer lies in the scripture. Then I went to the scripture and then dug into the family line of black Africans, which is the family of Ham. But the discovery was mind-blowing, that it was Africans, black Africans, that shaped the world we are today in terms of greatness, in terms of knowledge, in terms of civilization, in terms of everything that can awe and marvel the mind, were originated and created by Africans. Other civilizations started from the platform built by ancient Africans. And the story started from Babylon. Africans built the first city on earth, which is Babylon. They built the Tower of Babel, led by Nimrod, who was also a black man, an African, the last son of Cush. From there, now Egypt became their capital. And in Egypt, they did things that have continued to marvel the world up to the present. The 21st century world have not been able to surpass what black Africans did in Egypt. And the assets our ancestors left behind, which you can see in Egyptian museums and European museums today, and private museums of private rich collectors all over the world. Those assets are the ones that are still buried under this desert sands of Egypt. They are worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And they are continuing to feed the economies of these nations, Egypt and Europeans, for generations unending. But the tragedy, Kunle, is Africans are completely ignorant of this. So, the number one objective of this book is to give Africans their correct, authentic history, background, where they are coming from, so that they can realize themselves. Then the second issue, which is also most fundamental, Africans did all these things, but they had very, very serious conflict with God in the ancient time. They were loved by God exceedingly, as even the Bible will tell you. The child Jesus was taken to that place to protect him. The Ark of the Covenant of the ancient Egyptians, with which God communicated with them, were saved in Ethiopia. It's still in Ethiopia, in the city of Agbo, the Church of St. Mary of Zion, in the city of Agbo, till the present, if it has not been covertly taken away by Western powers. The Ark of the Covenant, which Moses and the Israelites were communicating with God with. And a whole lot of, an African was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. And his nationality was defined. He was the only apostle whose nationality was specified, to make it very clear. And a whole lot of other things.
Simon the Canaan.
Yes. But the issue is that Africans had major conflict with God. Nimrod, who built the city of Babylon, opened and wanted to revenge on God. He wasn't seeing God as God. He thought God was just an entity that was creating problem for them. He said God has killed all their ancestors. Therefore, he's going to take revenge of God. So the Tower of Babel was built to fight God.
Senator, I know if I leave you,
I'm still coming.
You're still warming up.
Yeah.
I know you can't come.
Yeah.
But you had already written here that you are ready for opposition.
Yeah. Any question any debate that will come from anywhere, I'm ready, because the facts are impeccable. With authorities.
Okay, I will take you back to. It's one of the things that fascinated me, I believe, in the first time I spoke to you, in your first book, and which is also here. One of the most fundamental things you try to establish here, which you have also mentioned, is that history of Africa,
which Africans are unaware of.
Africans are ignorant of.
Yes, particularly their leaders.
Yes, and you've connected that history to the history of ancient Egypt.
Yes.
You are saying that the ancient Egyptians were blacks.
Completely.
Blacks.
And that is the key. That is the key to the progress of Africa even today.
That particular point.
Yes, they need to realize whom they are. That is the key.
And the reason why it is key, your argument is that nobody disputes the role of ancient Egypt in human history.
Of course.
In terms of civilization.
Of course.
The
Western civilization originated from
writing,
yes,
numeracy, formal education,
philosophy,
art,
science, medicine, everything, building. Everything started with them. They originated everything. And the great names we honor in the Western civilization, be it Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, all those ancient philosophers and so on of ancient Greece, they were all students in Egypt. They all studied under black people in Egypt. So the tragedy is that Africans are completely ignorant of whom they are.
One of the things I like about your book is how you also quote Western historians.
Of course.
Great historians.
Great names of the Western world.
How they confirm.
The statement they made confirming what I'm saying. All of them.
You had a lot of quotations like that.
Including the Cambridge University. The Cambridge University authenticated the authorities are so much that you cannot contest them. So that is one. Africans need to know whom they are.
So, Senator, you are saying that a failure in leadership, lack of super states, as we just explained now.
Lack of super state is a symptom of it. Is a result of failure of leadership.
Corruption, all the things.
They are traced to ignorance.
They are traced to ignorance.
Lack of wide divergence of knowledge, because that is what gives great vision to leaders. So this when you listen to American presidential debates, you see that presidential candidates, they know everything about every other nation in the world. You understand the dynamics of the global society, what makes nations great, and so on and so forth. But here we pursue governance just for a particular, mainly for interest.
I need to get, I'm excited about the history of the black man, of Africans. Learning about it and all that. And reading your book, sort of gave me a completely different perspective. And connecting that history to ancient Egyptians.
Exactly.
So because I'd always read that those of us who are here, this side of the Sahara, I always read in the past that we actually came down from what we call North Africa today.
Yes, that's where Africa started. That time, human beings were small in number. So the entirety of Africa started from North Africa and Northeast Africa. Babylon, which is Iraq today, the ancient Iraq was still dominated by black Africans. Then North Africa, which is Egypt, Libya and Ethiopia. And that's where the Africans started. Because humanity was moving from Iraq after the flood. That's where the little population of human beings started.
You said that the story of the flood is not just a Bible story.
It's a worldwide story. Every culture on earth has that story in their culture.
Their history.
Yes, about the flood. The Chinese have it. The Europeans have it in their ancient traditions. The Yorubas have it in their ancient tradition. The Aztecs. All over the world, the flood was not just a biblical story. It was a reality.
Historical fact.
And when you go to ancient history, there's what they call the Table of Nations. The Table of Nations is actually the birth of humanity from 3 children of Noah, which I have named, which gave birth to the 3 loose classification of human races and Japhet. Exactly. So now, coming to the main issue, Africans were so mighty. You encountered some of the biblical, how God was describing them in the Bible. You encountered some of those quotations in this. They were so mighty in the ancient time. They ruled the world for 3,000 years, uninterrupted. And the world was bowing to them. But they were in conflict with God. After God destroyed the world with flood because of sin, it was Africans that reintroduced sin onto the world. Not only sin, but they reintroduced other gods, worship of other gods outside the God of creation, which was done by Nimrod. And in ancient Egypt now, the worship of multiplicity of pagan gods became a national issue. It was nationalized. Egypt had an uncountable number of gods, state gods, which they worshipped. They were doing this for thousands of years. In addition to that, they enslaved the people of God, the Israelites. It was the black Africans that enslaved them.
So that story about Egypt, Israel, that Bible story about Israel in Egypt for 400 years, those Egyptians were blacks.
Of course. Of course.
All those movies,
the Bible, you read this. I gave you a Bible quotation in respect of that.
It's there, yeah.
Yes, that it was the place, the house of Sam, the house of Ham.
Senator, all those
ancient Egypt was the house of Ham.
All those movies about Moses and in Egypt, all those Egyptians are Igbo people in those movies.
But you should understand that now. You understand where Igbo people are coming from. You know, for Igbo people, the status quo should remain. Because that is the nature of the world. You have to try and sustain what benefits you.
So there is a global conspiracy to ensure that blacks don't know that
whom they are.
Ancient Egyptians were blacks.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. You can look at the faces of the Egyptian statues. You know, the ancient Africans were so wise. The way I used to describe, they left stone albums to define whom they are. All the pharaohs were carved in stone statues. All their priests were carved in stone statues. All their noblemen had stone statues of them. But when these people came, what did they start doing? They started knocking off their noses.
So that you know,
so that you won't recognize.
You know that they have
exactly. They even started recreating many of the faces, and even redressing the physical structures to reflect the new people that have taken over in that place. You know? So this is a challenge. So their conflict with God for years now made God to speak through the mouth of the ancient prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and so on, about Africans. So that everything that has happened to Africans and that are still happening today were clearly pronounced in the scripture. That is what is going to happen to them. Slavery, you read it there. Conquest and domination, you read it there. Diseases, poverty, you read it there. Everything about them, God pronounced them, and they are happening exactly the way God pronounced them upon them.
Senator, let's reveal everything in here, because I want viewers to be eager to go and look for your book.
Yeah.
To be clear, you also here outlined clearly solutions which they will find when they read your book.
Exactly.
But it's been an exciting time discussing all this with you, Senator.
Yeah.
But time does not permit us to go any further.
Thank you,
Senator Anthony Agbo. Thank you very much. It's been exciting discussing this. We can't reveal everything in here.
Yeah.
Or do you want to reveal everything in here? You want us to go and look for the book and read now. Thank you for joining us on channel.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure.
Did you have enough answers there, or more questions than answers? Well, I did warn you at the beginning. Just get a copy of Governance Under Gross Limitations, and you'll get a fuller picture of what Anthony Agbo was sharing there. This is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.